Welcome back to Outriders. In this video I want to talk to you about a topic. I've seen it posted on Lieutenant Buzz Lightbeard's channel. This is basically a chat manager that is on the subreddit, so basically like the community manager sort of thing. Someone that is just moderating the subreddit for People Can Fly and Square Enix. They have stated that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, they just get a load of stick from the community. And even though it's not their fault, they have to expect that when the game they are working for, whether it's directly or just being a moderator, they are working for Outriders because they are moderating the subreddit. So when the game that they are working for is making mistake after mistake, they have to expect this sort of thing. It's obviously not fair. The community managers and stuff shouldn't always get the full end of the stick when it's not their fault. They're simply just relaying information. But this one in particular has said that there's a lot of people. They are going around and literally taking everything they say out of context, twisting it, and then making negative content and threads and everything like that. So it actually reads out, and I'll leave a link to Buzz Lightbeard's video in the description so that you guys can listen to what he's got to say, and you'll be able to see everything on screen from that perspective. But, truth be told, nobody in any team is purposefully trying to limit what we or I am allowed to say or talk about. There is no one at PCF or SE telling me that I can't say or talk about certain things. My style has been developed from on my personal experiences with communities more than anything. As someone pointed out, this isn't my first rodeo. I'm 8 years into CMing at this point. So that's another thing, they should have the experience and know how this stuff goes. But they say if you want to understand why I tend to be careful in what I say, look no further than the below example. So, when you talk about my fears of being quoted out of context, I must ask, were you checking this sub actively a few weeks ago when I talked about how we were looking at the multiplayer situation? I gave as transparent a view as I could of the situation from our side. I was open and honest. My reply was entirely misinterpreted by the certain elements in the community, and an entire week was spent where this sub and thereafter content creators and their audiences quite literally misquoted me. And by misquoted I mean literal, the devs don't give a shit about us, look at what they said kind of thread titles. We as an entire team were demonised based on hot takes that were entirely untrue. Me being open and honest did more harm than good at that point in time. Even when I set the record straight with a follow-up reply at the time, many players in the community didn't seem to care. Bad faith hot takes continued and got far more visibility and upvotes than the truth. If there is anyone preventing me from being open and honest at this point and providing more information, it's not anyone internal on PCF or SE side, it's the bad faith actors. That I do not agree with. If there is anyone preventing anyone from being open and honest, that is themselves. If you are a YouTube content creator and you ignore the bad in a game to try and get a sponsorship with that company, the only person doing that is you. If you refuse to talk about the negatives in a game because you don't want people moaning at you about it, that's on you. Everything you do in this life, you have to take responsibility. If you make a mistake, that's on you. You can't blame anyone else. If I make a video and I'm wrong, yeah, I'll point out I was watching other content creators or I was looking through these articles and that's where the information come from. But at the end of the day, it's all on me. I have to sit there and take responsibility for it. So I don't agree with that part at all. But this isn't me jumping down the throat of the CM. I'm looking at it from both sides of the... I'm looking at both sides of the story, basically. They carry on to say, and no, that isn't me saying that people don't have a right to be upset about issues or that they don't have a right to be angry, that things may not be as expected. It's not expected. We don't expect this stuff. We expect the game that we purchased to work. That's the only reason I'm kicking off about this game. I see all these comments, all you ever are is negative. That's because them people only sit there and click on the videos that are negative. I do positive stuff too. Look at my Is It Worth the Money series. I've started reviewing games and I don't think there's been a bad game on there so far. There's only been a few videos, but I've only had good stuff to say. I revisited Fallout 76. I've played little indie games and stuff and I've covered them and I've got a lot of good to say about games when they work. I'm just critical because there is money on the line, hard-earned money from people that have families and jobs and stuff, and it's being taken for granted and basically robbed from these companies that do not actually care. They carry on to say, but in this state I return to my role every day, and every day I feel like more and more like we cannot win no matter what we or I do or say. This week's restoration is a good example of this. So they're saying no matter what we do, we can't get it right. Everyone seems to be against us and taking things out of context. This week's restoration was the biggest shambles I have seen in a long time. Worse than anything the Division 2 has ever done. Worse than that damage glitch where people that never did it still got banned. Where people that did do it never got banned. This is worse. I've seen a huge variety of different comments from different people pointing out how their restoration has happened. You have people that have not had anything wiped, yet they've been given 20 legendaries. You've had people that have been wiped, not have anything given to them in return. You've had people like me, never got wiped. The worst I've ever seen on my own account is simply losing one blue weapon, which was my primary, and that never got returned. I wasn't expecting that. I was like pretty much part of Group C. But you have people making up Group D now, where they literally just get fucked over. You have people that have had exactly the same inventory as me in terms of the god rolls from the restoration. So 3 Heir to the Deserts, and then I think it was a Daimyo, an Iceberg, and a Voodoo Matchmaker or something like that, and then 2 pistols. I've had someone comment say they had exactly the same stuff as me. You've had people, because they stated on their Reddit that people that dismantled stuff will not get any items returned. However, people that sold stuff will, because their analytics can conclusively prove that dismantled stuff wasn't part of the bug, but people that have dismantled stuff got legendaries back. That's why things are taken out of context. I've had someone comment and say they had good god-rolled purples and legendaries on their build. When the restoration happened, their rarity on their weapons and stuff has gone to white. It's no longer purple or gold, it's white. Or brown, or whatever colour you want to say a legendary is on this game. I've seen people on this game ever since the launch say they've had a legendary drop go into their inventory, not there. It's turned out to be a purple. I've had people say they've seen the feed on the right hand side of the screen, say they have a specific legendary, they get into their inventory, it's turned into a Grim Marrow. Literally at this moment in time, you have to expect the community being all over the place, because the developers are showing signs of nothing. There is a mod exploit that's becoming more prevalent, I covered it recently. There's another thing that I've got coming out soon where you can actually stack mods to increase your crit damage when mods shouldn't be able to be stacked. You've got half the bloody mods, if not more, don't work in this game. You've got people still dashboarding. It's switched from PlayStation to Xbox not being able to sign in properly now. You've got multiplayer still being an absolute shit show. The list goes on. There is bug after bug. Hunt the Prey, they supposedly fixed it. I've seen footage of it not being fixed. There is so much wrong with this game, and to sit there and say, no matter what we do or say, we can't be right, everyone's against us, it's because of the stuff that's happening. If People Can Fly actually sat there and tested this stuff, literally, start a Trickster, get Hunt the Prey, test it, you'll find out that it doesn't work instantly. It's not a hard thing to do, but they sit there and they lie day in and day out. They post updates and put out important news stuff on a Friday, and then they go and take the weekend off. This game, from its core, is fucked. There is no way this game will ever properly recover. They need to honestly just open up refunds and let people get their money back for the game. There is so much wrong with it. They've gone from 125k peak concurrent players to 11,600 right now. Their 24-hour peak is 20,500, and it's just dipping. It's staying around that it has been for the last couple of days, but it's going to start going back down. And it will quickly as more stuff becomes noticed and more things happen in the game. People are literally logging in to see legendary after legendary, and they're seeing all this stuff in their inventories that's god-rolled, and they've done absolutely nothing. They've literally not been wiped, not lost any bits of gear or anything, and they're being handed all this stuff. So the community is all over the place because people are saying, oh yes, this is amazing, I've got all these legendaries. Then you've got the other end of the spectrum. People are saying, well, I've been given all these god rolls. What's the point of me trying to farm for gear now? As a CM, especially with 8 years experience, to not expect this sort of backlash and this sort of mixture of feelings and emotions coming from the community, I'd say it's a little bit bizarre. I totally understand, 100%, the CM should not get all the stick for the shit that's happening with the game. But at the same time, you need to expect some sort of, backlash, basically, even towards you, when you haven't done anything wrong, because of the company you are working for, or the company you are working with, or whatever. So in my opinion, I don't think the CMs should be getting all the stick, because it's not them that sits there and makes the stuff and breaks the stuff. But it should be expected from some people that just don't look into a bigger sort of picture and see what's going on. They don't do all their research and everything. There are some people that literally will just hear one thing, don't like the sound of it, and they'll kick off. That's why you have to be really patient. You have to understand everyone has their own opinions. They're entitled to them, whether they are right or wrong or whatever. But with this situation, I think the CM should not be getting the shit that the developers and publishers should be getting. But it is to be expected regardless, because you're working with a company that's drastically fucking up more and more every single day. There is no escaping it at all. This is what you signed up for at the end of the day, really. But I don't know, I'm going to leave the video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed it.